something happening here.
This land is your land. If it takes them to tear the fascists down, down, down.
There is power in our union. You fascists
Welcome to TNZ Talk with radio veteran Tony Trupiano and Huffington Post blogger and writer at Liberals Unite, Richard Zombek, where they do lean left, but always talk straight.
And welcome everybody to this Monday, September 12, 2016 edition of TNZ Talk. I am Tony Trupiano. Hopefully you'll remember me and my voice. And joining me now is my cohort in crime and co-host of this insanity, Richard Zombek. And Z, it's been a while, and it's good to be back today.
It has been a while. I was trying to figure out when our last show was, and obviously I could have gone to the website
August 6th.
Yeah,
August 6th.
But I didn't. I didn't do any of that. I didn't.
You went to me. You came to me, my friend.
Well, just now. I mean, I was looking up on Libsyn, which is where we host this fine show. It has been a while for a myriad of reasons, all health, financial, location, all kinds of things.
Well, I have moved, and that was a big part of it. I moved from where I was to where I'm at, obviously, but where I'm at is quite a distance from where I was. And I'm now living in the capital of the state of Michigan, actually just outside the capital in Lansing. And it's been an interesting journey, to say the least. I'm not quite 100% settled, still don't have furniture. But I am unpacked, which was a pain in the butt. And as I told my stepmother this morning, one of the benefits to moving is you get to put stuff exactly where you want it. One of the downfalls is you can't find it because you don't remember where you put it.
Not a professional packer, are we?
No, definitely not. And, I'm going to tell you the other benefit to moving is you can actually, as you're unpacking, going, do I really need this anymore?
Yeah.
And I threw a lot of stuff away. I donated a lot of stuff as well, especially clothes. I had a lot of clothes that either don't fit. Happily to say most of them were too big, or some of them were too small. But so I was happy to go to Goodwill and drop that stuff off, and a couple other little things here and there. But it's good to be back, and I'm just happy to say that you and I are both doing reasonably well, at least physically. We'll talk about the mental health part of it some other time, but it's interesting. You and I, of course, have talked just about every day, even though we haven't been on the air, and nothing's really changed a whole lot since the last time we did the show.
No, nothing. Nothing at all. It's still redonkulous.
And in the weirdest of ways. Now, there are a couple stories we're going to hit on a little bit later in the show today. Certainly Trump on Putin, Hillary Clinton's health. But as I was talking to you earlier today, I really did want to spend a little bit of time talking about the 15th anniversary of September 11th for a variety of reasons. None of them selfish. We all, we all have a where were you story. One generation, it was about Kennedy, right? When he was assassinated, where were you? For our generation, it's 9/11. I'm hoping the next generation gets to skip that. That is my prayer. But today is not about where were you when. It's really about a couple things. And it was unavoidable, and not in a bad way, unavoidable not to see a lot of stuff online in the media, and of course watch stuff on television The NFL debuted their 2016 season for all intents and purposes yesterday, and there were lots of either protests or commemorations of September 11th. I can honestly say that both professionally and personally, September 11th changed me forever. And sitting in front of me, I have a coffee mug that I keep pens and scissors and stuff in, letter openers. And what's interesting about it is the cup has a picture of the White House. And it says, "The White House is corrupt. The intelligence was fixed." Yeah, we know that, don't we?
Mm. Yeah, well, I mean, Cheney's New York Times article, for example.
So, anyway, that's just my quick thoughts. Your quick thoughts on 9/11.
I'm trying to remember. I was in Seattle at the time. I was working for Adobe Systems. I was not sober yet, and I got to work and heard the news, and they sent us all home, and it was I don't even know what to say, Tony. It was just it was so shocking. It was surreal. I mean, that's really the only.
It was surreal. It was surreal. No question about that. Well, yesterday morning when I was taking the time to just kind of cruise online and look at some of the stuff, I came across a link to CNN, and they had gotten together 8 children of victims on 9/11, whose all of them happened to be men, not the children, but the victims. And they talked to these children about their dads, about that day, about what they remembered. Now, what's interesting here is some of them are 15 years old. Some of them are 29 years old, which means some of these children never met their father. Others knew their fathers well. And I've got to be honest with you, I'm a little apprehensive about playing this audio and listening to it again because it really affected me yesterday.
Well, yeah, I can understand that.
I mean, it was tough. It was tough. So anyway, we're going to begin with a long piece of audio, which I believe is important to share. And so, listening audience, take it in. Just close your eyes and listen to what these children, well, they're all children of somebody, now some of them adults, had to say about that horrific day.
I know you all lost parents on 9/11. How many of you lost a dad? Raise your hand. All of you. How many of you were so young you don't have a memory, like a real memory of your dad? And then how many of you will never forget? We're sitting here looking at these fountains and where those towers once were. And to anyone first, what does it feel like to come down here to Ground Zero?
It feels good. It feels like we were rebuilt. It's good that we're getting through it.
Getting through it. How many of you have looked for your dad's names? All of you. What was it like finding your dad's name?
Most people, when they lose someone, they have a grave to go to, and that brings them closer to that person. But for us, this is our parents' grave, and so it brings us closer, and it makes us feel more connected to that parent.
Do you guys agree that it feels like a grave in a sense? You're nodding. Why?
A lot of our parents' bodies weren't found after 9/11, so that could be literally where our father's bodies lay to this day, and that's it is a memorial, and it is our grave, and we can go there and we can communicate with the people we lost. That's like our safe spot with them.
Is that what you do? Do you communicate with your dad at that wall?
Yes, I talk to my dad. I like to put my hand on his name and talk to him and tell him everything that's going on.
But let me move on to that day. Juliet, you were 4.
Yeah.
You were 4. Your dad was firefighter out of Queens. Mm-hmm. How did you find out that day?
I was with my grandfather that day. My other siblings were at school. I was in preschool at the time. He had the news on, which a 4-year-old shouldn't see. Another fireman who was retired from my dad's house had called my mother at work and said, was my dad working? And she said yes. So she left work to pick up my other siblings, and they came to pick up me. And my grandfather just had a gut feeling, and in front of all of us just said, I lost my son today. I lost my son. And my mom was actually furious at him that he had already had no hope, that he had already had that feeling that he was gone. But I, at the time, wasn't comprehending what that meant. I think it took a few months until I realized that he wasn't coming home.
Do you remember as a 4-year-old the images on the screen?
Yeah.
The smoke?
Yes, I vividly, the planes, and it's something that's very traumatizing for a child to see now later in life, that you comprehend what that actually meant at the time, because I don't think any child has the mind capacity to comprehend such a mass atrocity.
Nor should they. Nor should they. Jessica, tell me about the waiting that day.
I was starting high school. It was my second day at a brand new school. They announced on the loudspeaker that a plane had hit the Trade Center, and we had televisions in some of the rooms, so they broadcasted it. And I was surrounded by strangers, new people, and had to tell them my dad's in there. And I also had that gut feeling too.
You did?
I did.
What did that feel like?
I really had trouble speaking to people. I couldn't. It was like a numb feeling. So I called my mom and I couldn't get through. There was a busy signal. We didn't even have call waiting. Kept calling and my aunt picked up, and that's when I knew something wasn't right, that my aunt was with my mom already, and I have 3 younger sisters. We went through all of the schools in the neighborhood and picked each of them up, and they had each heard bits and pieces of it. So it was just telling them that Dad's building was hit, a plane went into the World Trade Center. We don't know where he is.
When did you know?
I knew when I heard when we were praying on the loudspeaker, because it was a few months before that I started learning about the World Trade Center bombing in the 8th grade. And my dad got out of that. I was in kindergarten. And I remember him as a 5-year-old coming home.
Covered in soot.
In soot. So I knew, and I remember asking him and kind of realizing that was a terrorist act and asking questions as a 13 or 14-year-old should. And specifically in the summer of '01, we talked about that. So I knew where he was. I knew what it took him to get down over 100 flights of stairs in 1993. And it didn't look like he was getting down.
You two, the brothers, your mom was pregnant with you the day of, and she was what, on the subway?
Yeah, she was under the buildings when they got hit.
She was under the buildings when they got hit.
She worked across the street.
Worked across the street, VP at her company. You obviously were in her belly. What do you remember?
I don't remember much from that time in general. I know I was in preschool that day. She tells us a story how she was, after the first building was hit, she went outside and she was kind of waiting for our dad. And then she had some sort of pillow because she works for an aviation insurance company. So she had a pillow for when she went, a special pillow that filtered air when you went to a plane crash. So she was hiding under a taxi cab or something like that to make sure debris didn't fall. You
never got to meet your dad?
No.
How tough is that for you?
It's very tough, knowing that I won't have a father to grow up with. He's really stepped up to be a very good figure to me, father figure.
He being your big bro.
Yeah, my family's really wrapped around me. My mom, she quit her job to be home with us. And she's just done everything.
Nicole, so your dad was in one of the towers on the 86th floor, and he picked up the phone. He called, a local TV station?
Yeah, he wanted to reach out to families all around the country and all around the area. He tried to bring a sense of calmness to people, even though in his heart he knew that he wasn't going to make it out.
stuck on the 86th floor. A fire door has trapped us. Debris has fallen around us, and part of the core of the building is blown out.
How many people are with you, Jim?
I'm with one other person, and I'm told that people are aware of this. I'm on the 86th floor on the east side of the building facing the East River.
And what time did you
I'm
get...
on the air, I want to tell anybody that has a family member that may be in the building that the situation is under control for the moment, and the danger has not increased. So please, all family members, take it easy.
How often do you go back and listen to his voice?
Pretty often. I like to listen to it a lot because it's the last thing I have of him speaking. It's what I remember of his voice since I was so young when I lost him. That's the last thing I remember of him.
And when you listen to it, what does his voice, his message mean for you?
It's really meaningful to me to see that in his last moments he was thinking about other people and putting them before himself.
Unbelievable.
I have to tell you, keep in mind, there are a couple things that really jump out at me in that. The one young man says his mother worked for an aviation insurance company. Not quite sure what that is, but I think there's an irony there. The voicemail message. I'm on the 86th floor, looking over the East River. Everything's under control. For those people that have family that might be here, everything's fine. For now. For now. For now.
Yeah.
You know, there are two images that are forever in my memory. The photos of the gentleman that was recorded jumping out of the towers. And there was only really one reason to do that. And the other one is the towers collapsing, which we were told, could never happen. The gentleman jumped out of that building so that he wouldn't have to burn to death. That he thought that was a more humane way to go. Now, I'm not here to judge. I can't imagine having to face that choice, and I hope I never have to face that choice. But we lost almost 2,200 people that day. And I just don't know still how to process this mentally.
Yeah, there was a chaplain, NYFD chaplain, on CNN over the weekend who was talking about just that, about people jumping out who had basically made the decision that was a better way to go than burning to death, like you said, or being in the building.
Or waiting. I mean, imagine waiting. Imagine knowing. As the gentleman said in that voicemail, the parts of the core of the building are inaccessible. Knowing what we know now, they were more than inaccessible. They were destroyed. They were furnaces.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know how you move on from this. I think that we certainly have, to a great degree as a country. I think you have to. I don't think you should live in the past. I don't think it should be some kind of morose, everyday, oh my God, slap in the head kind of thing. The other thing that really came out at me in that was the young lady that said that her father was in the Twin Towers during the first terrorist attack. What are the odds you'd be in it twice?
I know. Well, he was in Oklahoma, right?
I don't know if it was Oklahoma or he was there during the first terrorist attack. But either way, the idea that you would be in that situation twice. it's just it's hard. And see, it's one thing if a family member gets sick and dies, even if they're young. A car accident, although difficult, can be explained. You can rationalize that. There are so many different ways that we lose people on this earth that eventually will allow us to process. And as the one young lady said, there are empty graves. There were bodies that literally, and I'm not trying to be disgusting here, were incinerated, completely gone. DNA wouldn't be able to help anybody at all. And not being able to know that in that box in the ground, there's something there, I think would be a really challenging thing to deal with emotionally.
Yeah, I was actually, when I was listening to that, I was trying to think, what's the closest I've ever come to something like that? And it's exactly what you said. It was, and it wasn't even, a close family member of mine, but my wife's sister-in-law, her brother's wife, was killed suddenly in a car accident, and that's the closest I've ever come to like a tragic death.
Well, certainly, as we pray for the victims, as we pray for the families, as we continue to see the goodness of this country, because goodness does, at some level, come out, as it did. And I don't want to taint this conversation with all the bad that came out. And there was too much of that. I think it exposed our politics for what it currently is manifested into. I think that it outed our politicians for the imbeciles that they were and are. I think we learned a lot about ourselves in the moment. And what I mean by that is our sense of patriotism, which was important at that time, blinded us from certain realities that we now know to be evident. And again, I don't want to muddy the message. I just want to say that for all the good, and there was much that came from this, there was also a tremendous amount of bad that we deal with on a daily basis.
I don't even know where to go with that, Tony. I agree 100%.
So, with all that said, I thank you for allowing me to share that with the audience today, because I thought it was important. In the meantime, let's go with what this morning is the biggest story, which shouldn't be, in my opinion. And that is Hillary Clinton's health. And I have to tell you, I think the media is blowing this way out of proportion. And they have bought into the Donald Trump, she doesn't have the stamina argument.
Yeah, I was looking through stuff just now, and there was a headline from Bipartisan Report, which is a independent, little website news thing that they seem to have completely ignored that Facebook is changing their algorithm to kind of mute bombastic and untrue headlines. And they have one up that the DNC is going to hold an emergency meeting to replace Hillary Clinton. So yeah. So
I'm sorry.
Well,
I didn't see that one coming.
Well,
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So here's a couple of things that
I'm sorry. All right, I'll stop.
All right, so I want to give you the kind of stream of consciousness that went through my head on this. Bipartisan Report is along the same vein of, and I need to explain this, so bear with me. I write for Liberals Unite, and as a lot of our listeners know, I also write on Huffington Post. But Liberals Unite, I write on, and it's one of those websites that, as a writer, you get a portion of the proceeds of the advertising. Now, Bipartisan Report is along the same vein, only in that it has writers that also share in the advertising revenue. One of the reasons when I was shopping around that I went with Liberals Unite was because Samuel Wardy, who runs Liberals Unite, tends to stay on the side of real news. He won't publish clickbait. He won't publish bombastic headlines that actually don't lead to a story that has anything to do with the headline. A lot of us have seen that. You're scrolling through Facebook. There's this headline, and you click on it, and then you read the article. You waste 5 or 10 minutes reading the article and realize that what you clicked had nothing to do with the content of the article. And Facebook recently announced that they were going to start squashing articles like that and trying to get more actual good articles with good content, and at least content that that is viable and meets the requirement of a regular article. So when I came across this article from Bipartisan Report that the DNC was holding a meeting to consider replacing Hillary Clinton, I of course went to Google and saw which other news sources might be reporting this. For example, The Hill, maybe Raw Story, something. The person or people or website reporting this that apparently Bipartisan Report has gotten their news from is InfoWars with Alex Jones. Who, if anyone doesn't know, Alex Jones and InfoWars are the hub of conspiracy theory, news, websites, memes, So there we go. It's coming from Alex Jones,
who Donald Trump has appeared on his show numerous times during the primary season.
Yeah.
Well, yesterday, the Democratic National Committee and its interim executive director, Donna Brazil, did put out a statement saying that their thoughts were with Secretary Clinton. They understand that she had made a very quick recovery, which we know she did, and that they were looking forward to working hard to get her elected come November. So in that message, I didn't see anything that made me laugh like you did today. And I think that's the hardest I've laughed in probably 5 years.
I think it's the hardest I've heard you laugh in all the time that I've known you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, this apparently is coming from a tweet from an MSNBC and Al Jazeera America anchor, David Schuster. So I don't know. He said clarification from Dem operatives. Hillary Clinton pneumonia, expect emergency DNC meeting to consider replacement. So I'm seeing that more of his opining that this is what they're going to do. I've never heard of the guy. And if he was or ever was working for MSNBC, he doesn't seem to be working for it now. He seems to be working for a place, or at least blogging on a place called Working Nation.
Yeah, I'm familiar with him, and that is certainly an opinion, and it's obviously not based in fact. And if it were, obviously other more legitimate, if you will, news sources would be commenting on this.
Well, of course.
But let's go back to the root conversation, which was the mainstream media seems to believe that there is some reason that we don't know more about Hillary Clinton's health. Now, we do know that she produced not long ago a report from her doctor. It was a fairly thorough report. And as I was telling you earlier today, this made me chuckle as well. They had this expert on MSNBC early this morning that was going through this litany of things that Hillary Clinton doesn't have. Well, then why the hell talk about it?
Yeah.
Seriously, they're saying, well, she doesn't have heart disease. She doesn't have diabetes. She doesn't have MS. Okay. So why are you even bringing this up? Why are we talking about what she doesn't have?
Well, because we have to.
Yeah, we really have to. Now, I will say this, and I don't know that I want to give Donald Trump credit, but he really did not take the opportunity to pounce on her the way you would have thought, especially since the couple weeks leading up to what happened yesterday. He has literally been a vicious bulldog talking about her physical and mental stamina. I shared with you as well this morning that when I ran for Congress, amongst the many experiences that I had, one of them was getting dysentery. And for those that know what that means, I'll leave it there. But as I shared with you as well, I couldn't be more than 10 feet from a restroom the last 3 weeks of my campaign. I could barely eat, etc. And these things happen during campaigns. People have horrible hygiene. It's easy to pick up something of a bug, a virus, as you're shaking hands and kissing babies, etc. And, the physical toll that it takes on and I didn't run for president, right? I'm not traveling the country. I was traveling my district. Running for president is a grind. There's no question about it. People don't understand. Donald Trump flies back to New York almost every night to sleep in his own bed.
Of course he does.
No other candidate has ever done that.
You think he's going to be doing that as president?
I do, actually. I believe that he will spend more time in his multi-gazillion-dollar apartment than he does in the residence at the White House.
When he starts making America great again.
Yeah, making America hate again.
You know what I like was Rudy Giuliani. So he's on actual news with a camera in his face and a microphone, and someone questions him about his rumors about Hillary Clinton's health, and he goes, "Well, just Google Hillary Clinton and illness. Just Google it." Oh yeah, really? Just like I Googled the DNC is calling an emergency meeting to replace Hillary Clinton, because you will come up with plenty of stuff. Just Google it. I mean, really? This is the former mayor of New York City, who actually did a pretty good job with New York City, who probably, if he just shut up and retired and went away, would have left with just a fantastic legacy. Without, anything else, where now he just looks like he's completely insane. His eyes are darting from left to right, independently of each other, while he's talking. And he looks like he's insane when he comes on these news shows. He looks like he's insane. And he needs to be mopped up like he's drooling or something. I mean, the guy is just, every time I see him, I go, what? Why? Why do they even bring this guy out? Why is he even commenting on this? He looks crazy, Tony.
Yeah, in fact, earlier I had said that...
You get the sense I have a little problem with Giuliani?
Yeah, I get that sense. Earlier I had said that I thought he was on Trump's payroll, and you said, well, I think he's on drugs.
Yeah, well, he's on something. Because he just seems crazy to me. He seems absolutely crazed. And when he says some of the stuff that he says, I mean, that comment alone, Google, Richard Zombeck and jerk. and you're going to get results. You get results from anything on Google.
True. Very, very true. Now, in the list of audio, and I just didn't have a chance to audition this one, you've got one titled Mika Calls Out Media. On what, Z? On
the coverage of Trump. The reason I picked this is from a few days ago, while we were on hiatus, and I was trying to figure out if we were on hiatus or sabbatical.
Sabbatical sounds better. Most people don't know what that is.
So while we were on sabbatical, on Morning Joe, Mika showed a level of frustration that I think both you and I have had. And actually, when I got this clip, I was thinking of opening with this, but then you had suggested the kids from 9/11, and that seemed like a much better choice. But I want to play this clip of Mika Brzezinski that I think, to a degree, outlines the level of frustration that you and I have with this presidential campaign.
It's also a nice jumping off point for everything else we need to talk about today.
Yeah. So let's listen to this.
Still at a Morning Joe.
Hold on.
Come on,
Aren't they losing everything right now? Look at their candidate. Look at this conversation. We're talking about nothing. We're talking about a guy who means nothing, who says nothing, who has no opinions. We're talking about a speech that will probably end up being something that he doesn't mean, and we're pretending to try and translate strategy out of it. That's your party. That's your leader. Do you have something to lose by sticking by this? I think down the line, yes, you do. I do. I don't even know what we've talked about, honestly. Nothing.
I think they do.
He says nothing that he means.
And it is so good.
But you got a good song out of it.
To hear from you on this point.
What? We're just pretending to make up analysis of stupidity.
Still at a Morning Joe, we're going to look back.
And, that's not the first time that she has done something along those lines. She's exasperated.
Yeah.
She's upset. She's disappointed. She's confused. And I think, like you and I, she's worried that he will be elected.
Yeah. And you and I kind of got into this, this, where every once in a while we'd have a conversation and go, hey, can we talk about something else? Can we address? And it just keeps coming up and coming up and coming up because the stuff that he says is so ridiculous. And you're watching otherwise intelligent people in the news be forced into talking about idiocy and trying to make sense of it instead of just calling it for what it is. Trump said, one of the headlines that I used in one of our shows was actually just that. Trump said something stupid again today. And by
the way, it was one of our more listened to podcasts.
It was. That's real. Yeah. The actual title was Another Day of Asking What Did That Idiot Do Now? And it was one of the highest rated shows we had. It wasn't the highest rated show, but it got quite a few listens. And I might just keep using that, what did this idiot do now? Countdown. Because this is all we talk about. And to be honest with you, Tony, while we were away, I don't know that I was looking forward to doing the show. And I love doing the show. I love talking to you. I love talking about the news. I love talking about politics. But in the back of my mind, almost every day as we got closer to coming back on the air, I'm going,
Interestingly, you and I and Mika aren't the only ones that are flabbergasted and disgusted. In fact, on Friday, Hillary Clinton, between being treated for Alzheimer's on Thursday and having Parkinson's and having her seizure in New York yesterday, gave a speech where she talked about Trump's supporters. And so let's play that piece of audio, and then I want to discuss two what I think are critical things. One of them was a huge mistake that she made after the fact. But go ahead and play that.
Don't see the latest outrageous, offensive, inappropriate comment and think, well, he's done this time. We are living in a volatile political environment. You know, to just be grossly generalistic, you could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. Right? The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it. And unfortunately, there are people like that. And he has lifted them up.
You lift me up.
There you go. Well, first of all, I think the mistake she made was apologizing for that comment after the fact. You should never apologize for telling the truth.
Okay.
And, you know, there are some in the media, and it's not getting any traction, thank God, that this was her 47% moment, referencing Mitt Romney. Not even close. Not even close. So her apology upset me. But
really?
Yeah, it did. I'm over it. Why are you talking like that?
Talking like what?
Do you think she should have apologized?
I think she shouldn't have made the comment.
Why?
Because she represents everybody, even the basket of deplorables.
She will. She doesn't yet.
Correct. But, you know, when you're running for elected office, insulting a segment of the voting population might not be the best way to go.
Okay, so when a candidate says, let's say I'm a Republican, we all know that Democrats believe in stealing from the rich and giving to the poor. What's the difference between that and what she said? If I'm a Democrat, aren't I being called out?
I think bucket of deplorables falls more along the lines of 50% of all Democrats are tree-hugging, welfare-stealing, food stamp eating homosexuals.
So basically what Donald Trump says.
I don't know that he said that about Hillary Clinton supporters.
So it's okay if you generalize about a political party, just not to get specific and say they're supporters of that particular candidate.
Yeah, I think to say that that people who support the other candidate are stupid, ignorant, whatever. I think it sends the wrong message, Tony.
Disagree. I just disagree.
Well,
listen, it's not the first time we've disagreed on something, so why start playing that game now?
Well, no, I mean we don't have to agree on everything, but I think that insulting a segment of the population that you're going to that you're going to be representing and working for, I think is a mistake. I don't think that's a good way to go.
Okay. Well, again, we just happen to disagree on that particular issue. Do we agree that many? I don't even know how to quantify that, but that there is certainly a subsection of Trump supporters that are all of the things that she said.
Oh yeah, no, I completely
no. Just follow me for a moment. I know that you.
Yes.
That. All right.
You want me to keep my answer short, Your Honor?
Please. Just for a moment. So we agree on that. We agree that what she said is based in some kind of truth. with that said, do you also agree or disagree that what's now being called the alt-right, which just is another way of saying the KKK, but do you agree or disagree that the alt-right has been empowered by a Trump candidacy?
Yes.
All
Your
right,
Honor.
you agree. Okay. With that being said, whose job is it incumbent upon to point that out?
I would say the media, possibly her surrogates, but not her.
With that said, you and I have criticized surrogates on this very program for the Trump campaign that have said things that we have said, well, if they said it, Donald Trump must believe it.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just, if the door is gonna swing one way, we've got to let it swing the other.
I get what you're saying, but there is a degree of separation, right? There's plausible deniability.
Except there's not for Donald Trump.
Well,
there isn't.
Well, because
that he's got his African American in the audience.
Well, because we've heard him say stuff like that before, right? Is now at this point, if one of Hillary Clinton's surrogates come out and says, every single person that's voting for Donald Trump is a complete and total moron, and they all have IQs of about 50, we're going to have a harder time saying, well, they don't really speak for Hillary because she made this bucket of deplorables comment.
But we wouldn't say it anyway. We would say that was the surrogate. It wasn't. We'd be saying that we're sure the campaign didn't approve of that. Certainly, the candidate herself would not agree with this. We would start spinning it left, right, any way we could, because it's what we would want to do.
Well, yeah, but there's no spin on this because she did say it.
Doesn't need to be. That's what I'm saying. She should have just owned it.
Well, it's not that I disagree with what she said.
Touche, Richard Zombeck. Touche.
In fact, I think 50% was a little low.
I would agree.
And I think, and I forget his first name now, but I think Sellers. Why can't I remember his first name?
It's not Peter.
No, it's not Peter Sellers. Anyway, someone on MSNBC made a comment that's right along those lines, so that was a perfect segue. Let's play that audio.
All right.
Let's talk to our panel. CNN commentator Bakari Sellers, Tennessee Congressman Diane Black, CNN political analyst Kirsten Powers, and CNN commentator Andre Bauer. Bakari, you're out there saying that this is not a gaffe in any way.
No, I don't think it's a gaffe in any way. I mean, I think that there is a clear difference between the 47% remark and what Hillary Clinton said. The 47% remark showed Mitt Romney's animus towards the poor. This remark shows Hillary Clinton's animus towards and bigots. I mean, it's very clear.
You think half of Donald Trump supporters are racist?
Well, I think that I can show you polls where over half of his supporters actually believe that Barack Obama is a Muslim informant, and over half of his supporters don't believe he was born in the United States. So I can show you polls of that nature. For many of us, this election is about beating back bigotry, but I do want to be clear because I have two friends on the panel. Not all Donald Trump supporters are bigots. Not all, by any stretch. However, they do have to be okay with supporting a bigot. I think that's an important connotation.
Congressman, let me play devil's advocate for a second here. There are a lot of deplorable things being said by Donald Trump supporters on social media and at events. You've seen the shirts that say things that I can't even say. Trump that B word about Hillary Clinton. I mean, there are horrific scenes that we see at those events.
Let me just say this. I don't care what the title is or the title, whether it's a Republican or a Democrat. I don't want my presidential candidates putting people in baskets. And I will tell you, not 47% of the people in my district who support Donald Trump are racists or bigots. And I think that it is deplorable for someone running for president to start out by saying, by the way, if you don't agree with me, you're a bigot or you're a racist. And that's what she's saying. And I'm insulted by that.
Well, that's not what she was saying. So she basically stuffed words into Hillary Clinton's mouth. But go ahead.
Well, first of all, Bakari Sellers, representative from South Carolina. And that was the first voice we heard. His comment, I do agree with. I mean, if you're supporting Donald Trump, you're supporting a bigot. And I agree with that. That basically, if you're okay with Donald Trump, you might not be a bigot, but you're okay with bigots.
Absolutely. You know, interestingly, on Friday, Donald Trump spoke at the Values Voters Conference in North Carolina.
Using a teleprompter. That he hates.
And every third sentence was about how much Hispanics and African Americans love him. And he even said at one point, post-election, when we see the percentage of African Americans and Hispanics that actually voted for him, we will be astounded. Well, that's not hard, because if it's 4%, it would be astounding.
What's he got, like 1% among the African Americans right now?
Yeah.
I mean, even in some areas, he's got 0%, which is not only unheard of, but next to impossible. So he really has accomplished something impossible.
Agreed. All right. Well, again, since our sabbatical, and amazingly, we're already running out of time, Donald Trump, during what was called a Commander-in-Chief Forum on MSNBC about a week ago, talked about Vladimir Putin and talked in glowing terms about Vladimir Putin. And the one thing he said that the media really, and there were so many things to attach yourself to, but one of the things he said that I thought the media really could have thrown a great pass and gotten a touchdown on was his comment that, well, if he's going to say great things about me, then I'm going to say great things about him. They didn't really pick up on that. Not the way I did, anyway.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing, too, is that he's quoted Vladimir Putin as calling him brilliant. And Vladimir Putin made that comment in Russian, and Russian-speaking translators have told us, for some reason, that nobody seems to be talking about, is that while the word that he used could be translated as brilliant, it's more directly translated as flamboyant.
Correct. With that said, not the entire media ignored most of what was said, or much of what was said. And in fact, our good friends at the Democratic National Committee put together a little montage of media reaction to Donald Trump on Vladimir Putin. Let's play that.
Donald Trump really doubling down on that embrace of Putin.
Has reached a point where it's somewhere between stupid and scary.
While the United States is struggling to negotiate with Russia over its role in Syria, Donald Trump appeared on Russian-funded TV and criticized American policy.
Donald Trump loves to talk about polls, and he said that Putin has an 82% approval rating in Russia. What he didn't mention is that Putin is essentially a dictator who maintains near total control over Russian mass media and is known to crack down on Russians who dare to challenge him.
This is all a remarkable break from the traditional boundaries of American politics. It's outraging Democrats and even making many Republicans uneasy.
Just the fact that last night he said so many complimentary things about Vladimir Putin ought to be a sign to his supporters that this is a man who wants to be a dictator. We can't have that person be president.
No, we can't.
So where are you going to be moving to?
Well, Amy Schumer's going to Spain, and I wouldn't mind following her.
Yeah, I'm thinking of France.
Well, you have some familiarity and some heritage there.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, I wanted to, if we could today, end with a little audio that I grabbed. Immigration has become really a central and perhaps the most prominent issue during this presidential campaign season. And the idea that Donald Trump has about, excessive, or what did he call it, extreme vetting, whatever that means. I don't even know what that means. Finding a way to insult basically anybody that is that can trace their heritage in this country to immigrants, which is almost all of us, keeps forgetting that there are good things that happen when bad things are happening in the world. And when these people decide, Z, that they're going to risk their lives to come here, that sometimes the outcome is extraordinary. So I wanted to share something I found on Saturday about a gentleman from Ethiopia who is now the vice president of the AFL-CIO in Washington, D.C., and he talks about his journey, so if you would.
ስሜ ተፈሪ ገብሬ ነው። በአሜሪካዊነቴ በጣም እኮራለሁ። Death was all around you, and you don't know when they were going to come for you. You look like anarchists, and they will pull you out. They will shoot you and leave. If you go to the open market in Ethiopia, people are being hanged. That's why when I was 14, I decided that life in Ethiopia was not sustainable, and I joined with my friends, and we walked to the Sudanese desert for 93 days. We were stopped by a bunch of people with guns. They robbed us. We had no choice but keep on moving. Then when we get to the Sudanese border, we were told that the Sudanese government was no longer taking Ethiopian refugees. And that was really devastating. We were just spent, and we just had to rest. And at this time, I'm just really questioning life. Like, do I have to live? What's the point of even living? And I was laying down under a tree, and all I can feel is just my body sinking down because I was laying down in quicksand. And I really, frankly, didn't want to get up because I just said my prayers, and, this is it. What happens is, once you go through those kind of things and you get to the United States, you're living your second or third life. And that's why it is very, very, very important that we have to stand up and fight for that American value of welcoming the brave and welcoming those who want to be free, no matter if you're a Muslim, a Mexican, African, Ethiopian, doesn't matter what. Be careful about authoritarian, Messiah-like people coming and saying that they're going to solve your problems. In America, we solve our problems by working together. We solve our problems by exercising our democracy. We solve our problems by doing our fight at the ballot box. All of us have a claim to this place. And we should not allow anybody to claim a more Americanness than you, me, or anybody else, because this is my home. This is my country. And I'm never, ever, ever going to cede that to anybody else. I'm Tafari Gabre, and I'm a proud American.
And I'm proud that he is an American.
Me too.
When he said that when you finally get to America, for many of us, it's our second or third life.
Yeah.
You and I will never understand what that's like or what that means. You and I will never have the journey that this man had and many thousands of others have. And we are blessed to have been born in this country. We are blessed to have the freedoms and rights that we do. We are blessed to have the Constitution that we wrap ourselves in. We are blessed that we have a First Amendment. We are blessed by many, many gifts that other countries don't have. And, there's this saying about our judicial system. It may not be the best, but it's better than anything else that's out there. I believe that's also true for our democracy. It may not be the best, but it's better than anything else that's out there. And that's how I want to close it out today.
Agreed. And I'm going to close it out with the 411 for TNZ Talk. Financially, we're strapped. We are listener-supported radio. So to find out how to support us, you can go to...
I need to correct something. We'd like to be listener-supported radio.
We'd like to be listener-supported radio. You can go to tnztalk.com and click on support and find out the myriad of ways that you can support us financially, as well as writing a review and rating us on iTunes and on Stitcher, and I believe we're on iHeartRadio now, and also on Google Play. All of that helps to boost our ratings and get other people listening to us, and the more people we get listening to us, the more of a chance we have of staying on the air. So if you like the show, please go and contribute your time, your money, whatever you can afford would be greatly appreciated.
All right. Well, Z, great to be back from our sabbatical. We will be back tomorrow. In the meantime, we do want to hear from people, so do go to tnztalk.com. All the info you need to contact us is there as well. With that said, that'll do it for us today. Our prayers to Hillary Clinton. Hope she is doing okay, and that her chronic diarrhea, as a result of not having a stomach, gets better. Along
with the Parkinson's, Alzheimer, and being in a wheelchair, apparently.
And not to mention the colostomy bag that she needs to change.
Right.
With all that said, folks, have a great day. And as always, we ask that you be well.